Welcome back to the Unrevealed Realities, the channel where forgotten lives, invisible struggles, and hidden turning points unfold like untold legends engraved in dust. Here, every story is a door into a world that exists right beside us yet remains unseen, ordinary people carrying extraordinary journeys stitched quietly into their breath. Tonight, we open another chapter, one that begins in the narrow veins of a slum and ends in the glittering skyline of success, a journey that rises from dirt floors and broken dreams to the surreal reality of becoming a millionaire, a story of a boy who once sold trinkets in the heat of traffic and learned how to build an empire brick by invisible brick. The night begins with a faint hum of city noise, a distant dog barking, the rustle of plastic sheets fluttering above shanty roofs, and somewhere, under a flickering street lamp, a boy named Raheem wakes before the sun because life has never given him the luxury of sleeping until dawn. It is 4:27 a.m., a time when the world lies quiet but survival does not. Raheem stands barefoot on cracked concrete, the early chill brushing against his skin, his small hands tightening around a metal tray stacked with cheap keychains, rubber bands, plastic toys, and anything he can buy for pennies and sell for a few more. He is only 12, thin like a thread pulled too hard, but his eyes hold a fire dangerously older than his years. Every morning he whispers to himself the same mantra he doesn't fully understand: one day, not like this. He doesn't know what one day means. Not yet, but it keeps him moving. He walks through the slum, past smoky tea stalls, past the drunk man sleeping on cardboard, past the woman who sweeps the same square of road every morning as if trying to erase her own existence, and reaches the main road where buses groan awake like tired beasts. Raheem positions himself at the traffic intersection, the one place where thousands of dreams on wheels stop for 15 seconds, enough time to beg, to sell, to survive. Cars lined with tinted windows halt, engines rumble, horns echo, and Raheem darts between them with the agility of someone who knows danger intimately. He taps on windows, holds up toys, calls out prices, dodges insults, and sometimes receives a coin tossed carelessly, as if tossed at a stray dog. He pockets every coin silently and keeps moving because standing still is a luxury he cannot afford. Years pass like scenes in a montage: sunburned afternoons, monsoon floods filling the slum knee-deep, nights spent stitching holes in his only shirt, the laughter of other boys who mock him for dreaming, the quiet tears that slip out only when no one can see. At 16, Raheem is still here, the same intersection, the same tray, but something inside him grows sharper, louder, restless. One evening, after a full day of selling only 3 keychains, he sits by the roadside and watches a fruit seller across the street. The man is old, his cart wobbly, but people keep coming, buying, smiling. Raheem studies him obsessively. He notices small things: how the man arranges the fruits, how he calls out prices not too high, not too low, how he jokes with customers, how he sells not just fruit but familiarity. Something clicks inside Raheem like the first spark of flint. The next morning, he sells his entire tray of trinkets for nearly nothing, takes the tiny amount of cash he has, borrows a little more from a neighbor who warns him not to fail, and buys a crate of oranges. It is the boldest gamble of his life, a gamble that smells of fresh citrus and fear. He cannot afford a cart, so he carries the oranges in a borrowed basket, stands in a crowded market, and begins calling out prices in a nervous voice. People don't trust him at first. He looks too young, too fragile, too desperate. But as the day goes on, he learns. He imitates the fruit seller's humor, rearranges the oranges to look brighter under the sun, wipes them with an old cloth to add shine. He sells slowly, then faster, and by sunset his basket is nearly empty. He goes home with more money than he has ever earned in a single day. His mother cries when he hands her the notes, cries not because of the money, but because she sees something unfamiliar in his eyes: possibility. Raheem expands. He buys bananas next week, then apples, then melons. Competition grows fierce. Older vendors try to push him out, even threaten him. But Raheem doesn't back down. One night, a gang smashes his fruit baskets and warns him to stay away. He walks home empty-handed, his feet dragging through dirt, but something stubborn and molten burns inside him. At 2 a.m. he wakes, looks in the mirror of a broken window, and whispers to himself, "They cannot stop me." The next morning he returns to the market with a single crate of apples, bruised but determined. And this time customers see something new: fearless commitment, the kind that attracts loyalty. People begin choosing him over others simply because they respect his resilience. Time keeps moving. When Raheem turns 21, he buys his first wooden cart. It's small, uneven, but it is his. He paints it red, writes, "Raheem Fruits," in sloppy letters, and stands proudly beside it as if standing beside a throne. Business grows. Customers trust him. He learns about quality, pricing, supply chains, bulk purchasing. He wakes earlier, sleeps later, and with every passing month, the gap between where he is and where he came from widens by mere centimeters, but they are centimeters earned through blood and bone. One day, a man in a neat shirt stops by his cart. He is not a regular customer. His shoes alone cost more than Raheem earns in a week. The man watches Raheem closely, impressed by how he manages 10 customers at once, handles money without error, smiles even when exhausted. The man asks if Raheem can supply fruits to his small cafe. Raheem hesitates. He has never supplied anything to a business before. But he nods slowly, and the tiny decision becomes the pivot on which his destiny spins. The cafe orders again, and again. Raheem realizes he needs more stock. He starts waking at 3:30 a.m., traveling to the wholesale market where real business happens. The wholesale market is chaos, yelling, trucks unloading at terrifying speed, the ground slippery with mud and discarded leaves. Raheem stands there overwhelmed but determined, negotiating for boxes of fruit he once sold piece by piece. He learns the language of wholesalers: firm voice, sharp eyes, fast decisions. He becomes known not as the fruit boy but as the young man with impossible ambition. The cafe tells a friend, who tells another. Soon, Raheem is supplying to 3 cafes, then 5. He hires 2 boys from the slum to help him, pays them more than anyone ever paid him at their age, and buys a second cart, then a third. Customers still love him, but now his real work happens behind the scenes: inventory, transportation, logistics, pricing models, sourcing fresh stock. Life becomes a blur of effort, but a purposeful blur. A blur that smells of ripening mangoes, polished apples, and early morning dew. One monsoon season, disaster strikes. Floodwaters crash into the slum, sweeping away carts, crates, belongings. Raheem watches helplessly as his entire stock sinks into muddy water within minutes. It feels like the universe is pulling him back into the hole he crawled out of. For the first time in years, he cries like a child, sitting in the rain, hands trembling. He fears losing everything he built. But then something shifts. Something deep, raw, primal. He stands up in the storm and makes a decision. He will rebuild the next morning. Not next week, not next month, tomorrow. And he does. With borrowed money, drenched clothes, and an unbroken spirit, he buys a small amount of fruit, just enough to deliver to one cafe. The cafe owner is shocked to see him standing there soaked, exhausted, but holding a crate as if holding his future. That moment becomes a story the cafe owner tells everyone: how a poor fruit seller delivered during a flood that shut down half the city. More cafes contact him. More orders pour in. Disaster becomes an advertisement for resilience. By 26, Raheem owns a tiny storage space near the market. By 28, he owns a refrigerated truck. By 31, he establishes Raheem Fresh Supplies, a company registered legally, a company with uniforms for employees, ID cards, monthly salaries, and a logo designed by his younger brother who once mocked his dreams. Raheem builds partnerships with farms, hospitals, offices, and schools. He travels to other cities. He reads business books at night. He learns English slowly, painfully, word by word, because he wants to negotiate with bigger clients. He trains his staff, encourages them, treats them like family because he remembers what it felt like to be invisible. At 34, he signs his first major corporate deal, a chain of supermarkets that wants him to manage their fruit and vegetable supply. The contract is worth more money than he ever imagined. When he signs it, his hands tremble the same way they trembled when he first held a basket of oranges at 16. Only now, those hands carry decades of struggle, lines etched like battle scars. Within 2 years, Raheem becomes a millionaire. Not the flashy kind, not the loud kind, but the kind who still wakes at dawn because discipline is the only wealth he fully trusts. He buys a home for his mother, a real home, with a solid roof, a bed, a door that locks. He funds the education of children in his old slum. He hires people others refuse to hire. And somewhere deep inside, the boy who once whispered, "one day," realizes that day has already come, quietly, without fanfare. Yet Raheem never forgets where the fire began. The intersection where traffic lights blinked like ticking time bombs, where cars trapped him between danger and hope, where a boy learned how to chase dreams not meant for him. Sometimes he drives past that same intersection at night. He watches the new fruit sellers, the toy sellers, the barefoot children weaving between vehicles. He sees himself in all of them. And he whispers a silent promise that he will continue to open doors for those who have none. This is not a story of luck. It is not a miracle. It is not a fairy tale. It is the long, aching stretch of persistence, the raw sharp edge of hunger, the invisible weight of survival, and the quiet, uncelebrated moments where choices become turning points. It is a reminder that empires do not always begin with gold. Sometimes they begin with a bruised apple, a cracked cart, and a boy who refuses to break. Tonight, the world knows Rahim is a millionaire entrepreneur, the owner of a thriving supply chain, a respected businessman. But before all of that, he was a boy selling keychains at dawn, speaking to car windows that never rolled down, waiting for a future he could not yet see but believed in anyway. Thank you for watching Secret Chapters. If this journey moved you, share it, subscribe, and help us bring more hidden stories from the shadows into the light. Because somewhere, right now, another Rahim is waking up before sunrise, holding his dreams in his hands, waiting for the world to notice.